And a very good morning, and a very, 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 very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world on this Sunday morning, the second day of the second month, 2020. I'm George Grant saying welcome to this edition of Sundays with George Grant. And let me tell you, pilgrims, if you find a smirk on my face this morning, it's because I have so much to be thankful for. And I'm going to take a minute here this morning to have a quickie with you. For those of you who have been joining us for all these years, you are probably already aware that this morning we begin the 16th year of doing this program. Can you believe it? 15 years already gone. And I want to say two thank yous. Three. One, to Almighty God. He has carried us through all sorts of things over the past 15 years. And those of you who've been with us know what I'm talking about. We've been through an awful lot. But by His grace, we are still here. Very much alive and kicking. Secondly, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. There's a handful of people in this country who really recognize what we're trying to do here, and they appreciate the effort that's going into this. And over the years, they have been so kind. They have kept us going through thick and thin. And for that, we are extremely, extremely grateful. So thank you to my sponsors. You know who you are. God will bless you. But thirdly, are you ready? We have to say thank you to each and every one of you in the audience out there. Because you can do what you want, but unless you have an audience, you're spinning top in mud. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys have been popping up. Do appreciate it. May you too be blessed. I hope that your needs will be met, that your hearts will be at peace, that you'll have the hope that He has given to me so graciously. It's been quite a ride. And I thank every one of you. So, having taken care of the preliminaries, let us get down to brass tacks. Well, you know what? Since I'm talking about you guys there, let me start by taking a look and see what's going on out there this morning. Bernard Gilbert saying good morning to you guys, and Andrea St. B. Mitch says 7 mutual friends. Who are those 7 mutual friends, Andrea? Kind of curious. Peter Bishop saying good morning to you guys, and Anthea Rollo is also saying good morning, George and class. John Franco is there, and Roger Mitchell, and Penny Crawley. Penny. Oh, Penny, you couldn't wait to jump all over me, could you? Penny says, good morning, love. Not good morning, love. Good morning, love. That snazzy shirt. Yeah, man. This thing's been hanging up there in the closet for eons. I'm not wanting to, flamboyant colors and stuff like that. You notice that I usually wear solid colors, and they're usually polo shirts. This ain't no polo shirt this morning, I'll tell you. Anyhow. Margaret Francis is saying good morning to you guys, and gals, Margaret, because there are ladies out there as well. And a happy Sunday. Chester Simon is out there saying good morning and greetings. He's out there in Switzerland. Grenada's Sunshine. I met somebody on the street a couple of days ago who said that she knows you and that you wanted her to say hello to me. Well, she did say hello to me, and I told her, say hello to her. Yeah. Hope to meet you two face to face one of these days. Kathleen Thomas is saying good morning. Let's see here. Kipling Francis is saying good morning to all and God's blessings. Grenada Sunshine says 16 and growing stronger each day. Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Well, you know who's in the driver's seat, eh? Yeah. Boy, he's carrying us a long way. Not just me, us. Because you guys have been through a lot of the torture with me. But here we are, beautiful Sunday morning, celebrating. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, I see that Ronnie Gittens is on there as well. Chester says, Mr. Grant, I'm very proud of you. Keep the fire burning. Thank you, Chester. And I thank you. Not just for being there, but for your support. You're one of the people who've reached out and helped. And I think Grenada needs to know that you didn't just help me, you helped this country over and over. And like me, you got battered. But you're still trucking, buddy. Keep on trucking. Roger Mitchell is saying, we love you, Georgie. Jory. Yeah, thank you, Roger. It's nice to know. Nadia Tonger. Hello there, Nadia. It is so nice to see. I'm seeing a lot of you these days, Nadia. Keeping an eye on me or what? Huh? Keep coming, girl. We love having you on this forum. Isaac Opie Joseph says good morning and a pleasant day to everybody. Erica Mitchell is saying happy Sunday. Have a great start to your week. Well, let me tell you, so far it's been a wonderful start. I see that Terry Forster's keeping an eye on us as well. Ronnie Gittens is saying good morning to all. Russell Abraham is there very quietly. And Adrian Hayes, my goodness, I haven't seen you in a little while. Good to see you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's just clear this here for a minute. Okay, now, having said good morning, and we're going to be continuing to say good morning throughout the next 3 hours. But right now, let's take a look at the rundown and see where we go for the next 2 hours and, what is it, about 52 minutes? 2 hours, 51 minutes. That's what we got. If we have to go over, we sure will. We will begin, as always, with the buzz, where you will hear a short reading from the Holy Scriptures. And in our feedback section this morning, she is with us. Yes, sirree. Little Angel is with us this morning. Boy, wait until you hear her contribution. This woman does a lot of thinking. And she does her homework. No, she doesn't just go ding, 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 ding. No. She does her homework. That's why I so appreciate and admire her. One editorial this morning. It looks like the Grenada Advocate is gone. I haven't heard from them for weeks now. Anyhow, the new today is captioned "very insensitive," and let me give you 3 guesses as to what that's about. Come on, 3 guesses. And the first 2 don't count. Okay, they're talking about the coronavirus. And this morning you're going to be corona'd out, I'll tell you. Got a lot of stuff pertaining to that this morning. So, hang in there. It's all coming your way. As you're about to hear in the lineup of the features we got here this morning, we're going to begin at about 9:45. That's in about 35 minutes or so from now. Talking about the ban on plastic bags, which is now taking full effect. Yaman. I'm expecting 3 persons to show up here this morning. They are Mr. Richard Beadle. I haven't seen this guy. I met him years and years ago, but I haven't seen him now for a long time. He's a World Bank consultant, a World Bank communications specialist, if you will, and he's assigned to the Ministry of Climate Resilience here in Grenada. And they're going to be telling us, he's going to be telling us about this ban, which is now in full effect. You know, we're into February, so watch your P's and Q's. I find myself having to take a bag when I leave here to go do my grocery shopping. Huh? Yeah. Gonna take a while, but I'll get used to it. And let me tell you, for the environment, it's worth it. And I hope that you will follow suit, okay? He's going to be joined by a lady who's been with us several times, Dr. Clare Morall. She is a member of the Grenada Green Group. That's a group that's also been on this program 18 times, talking about the environment. And Claire is actually a professor down at the St. George's University, so she's going to be joining us this morning. Now, this third person, I'm not sure that we met, but his name is Hayden Redhead, and he's a local environmental activist. Mr. Redhead's going to be part of that team talking about the plastic bags this morning, so I look forward to welcoming him here. You try and say that. Welcoming him here this morning. Then, the coronavirus. On the site here, it's captioned Grenada and the coronavirus. Now, it's absolutely necessary that I take a moment here to explain something to you. When I decided to pursue the coronavirus on the program this morning, I thought, you know, let me see if I could get the chief medical officer. Actually, he's now the acting chief medical officer, because I've tried numerous times in the past to get the chief medical officer, the CMO, failed miserably. He ain't coming here, okay? But I do know personally the acting chief medical officer. His name is Dr. Francis Martin. I have great admiration for this gentleman. And like that, he agreed, yeah, what time do you want me there? So I said, we'd like to have you here at about 11 o'clock. That was probably about Thursday or so, okay? Yesterday afternoon, at about 5 o'clock, I received a phone call from Dr. Martin explaining to me that he and the minister and a lot of health officials were tied up in a meeting all day because there have been some developments in this coronavirus matter. He said to me that some action's about to be taken, and so he didn't want to preempt the statement which was going to be issued to the people of this nation. I respected that. I respected that. He also said to me that he was not sure. He thought the meeting could go on not just for the rest of yesterday, but also into today. Hot stuff, eh? Heavy stuff. So he said that maybe by the end of the day, if not tomorrow morning, that's this morning, a statement will be issued. Well, actually, within an hour or so of being told that, I received a statement. Those of you who have been perusing the GrenadaBroadcast.com website, you see it there. You know, priority, urgent. Statement put out by the Ministry of Health yesterday afternoon. So I promptly published that on the website and also on my WhatsApp forum. And then I thought, hey, you know, When I spoke with Dr. Martin, I sort of gathered that he just didn't want to preempt a statement coming out from the minister, when in actual fact it came from the ministry. But obviously the minister played a key part in that. I thought he didn't want to preempt them, and that's understandable, so let me call him back and see if, now that the statement has been issued, he would still be willing to come in here and sit with us this morning. Because, yes, it's a very serious statement that came out, and I'm going to read that for you a little later on. But I thought, maybe he could still come in here this morning and sort of elaborate, if you will, on it. And, talk to you folks about the virus, what's known about it, how to avoid it, and blah, 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 blah. Couldn't reach the man. Couldn't reach him. So I left a voicemail asking him to call me. And he hasn't. However, it's a little goof on my part. You still see his name there on the list, on the rundown. So he's not going to be here this morning. But I'll tell you, I'm going to run some videos this morning, which I think will be eye-openers for you folks. So after we take care of the first two segments this morning, we're going to be learning a little bit about the coronavirus. I'll tell you more about that as the morning goes on. Our final segment this morning it's not going to be live. Yesterday morning, this gentleman came, sat in this chair here. Gentleman by the name of Mr. Daniel Searles. He's a former fire chief with the Royal Grenada Police Force. And I did ask Mr. Searles to stop by because I had seen on the news sometime during the week where he was kind of disappointed in what was happening with our firefighting mechanism here in Grenada. So he came in, oh boy, we had a chat. I think it lasted about 34 minutes or so, and we're going to run that by you this morning as well. Okay? So, that's your rundown. Now, let me pull this thing up here and see what's been going on while I've been talking here. And I ask you, please, take your time and type whatever you're typing. Because I don't want to get caught with my pants down. Okay, Claude Putner. Let's see here. Yeah, Claude Putner says, good morning to you, Mr. Grant and class. It's a glorious day. Give thanks for life. Amen, boy. I've been doing that. I got off my knees just before coming in here this morning, I'll tell you. Russell Abraham is incognito. Adrian Hayes is there. Lincoln Depperdine is there. Mr. Depperdine, good to see you, sir. Ryan Jabon out there in Orlando, just saying good day. Clive Baker and John Franco are there as well. Adrian Hayes says, good morning to you too, George, and all your viewers. Yes, Adrian, nice to see you, sir. Anthony Howard, I don't know if he's on a cruise today or what, but good to see you, Anthony. Carlene Vespre, Green's Auto Body. Michael Alexander and Mr. George McLeish over there this morning, very quietly. Davini Leo is saying, good morning, SGG and class. As we approach the 7th of February, 46 years of our country's independence, with some reflections, who are we as Grenadians? Have we lost our will to struggle? Just asking. I wouldn't be surprised if some people have lost their will, Davini, but I'll tell you, there are a lot of us who haven't. Enough said. Colleen Vesper is saying good morning to you guys. Hey, TF Richards. I wonder, I guess a little while we're going to find out where TF is. Michael Alexander says good morning, Gigi in class. Happy Sunday to everyone. With God's blessings to all. Looking forward to a great time together with God's blessing. Yeah, man. Going to have a nice morning this morning. Yvonne Joseph has joined us. Warren Wilson. Ray Charles and Sylvester and Neptune. Oh yeah, here comes TF. He says, I hope he hasn't been sanctioned by the powers that may be into not coming to your forum, not coming into the forum. I don't know. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. But I understand why you think that way. Okay, Pilgrims, let me see. I think that's going to do it for the time being. We'll check back in with you guys a little later on. But right now, let's take our first little break here. And then we will get into the buzz.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
One more for the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive. Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision-making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice Island.
Redhead, energizing our Grenada.
Okay, folks, I'll tell you what, a little local parlance here, taking in front. I'm taking in front, let me tell you this. This morning, one day this past week on Good Day Grenada, I decided to try using a new software to do what we do here on GrenadaBroadcast. And boy, we had a hiccup. I was in a rush to start using this software, and things went kind of screwy. Well, I think we got most, I won't say all, but most of the bugs ironed out. And so did it happen by coincidence? I don't know. To start the new year, new software? I don't know. But most of you, I would imagine, know that when you adopt a new software, it takes a while to get used to. And so I hope, so far it seems like everything's going hunky-dory out there, but I hope things hold up. You're going to be noticing a lot of different things in the coming days and weeks and months. Let's get to today's edition. Today's edition of The Buzz. And we begin with a reading from the Holy Scriptures. Today, actually, two short readings which are related to each other. The first, from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 16 to 18, which says, "What agreement is there between the temple of God and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will live with them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Therefore, come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. And I will be a father to you, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Lord Almighty." 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 16, 17, and 18. The second reading is along the same vein. But as you listen to this, remember, it's only for those of us who believe. Okay? Comes to you from the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 21, verses 3, 4, and 5. "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain. For the old order of things has passed away." He who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." Oh, pilgrims, what a hope we have. What a hope we have. Revelation 21, verses 3 to 5. Now let's get into the feedback section. Somebody posted something here on one of my forums. A lady named Diana Charles. Diana says, and this has to do with the coronavirus. Whew. She says, "I just don't understand how the powers that be in Grenada can be so callous. Who exactly is doing the screening in Grenada? What business meeting is so pressing that these Chinese people had to be allowed to enter Grenada? Shame on you, Mr. Mitchell, for your actions. I hope to God no one contracts the coronavirus in Grenada. I wonder if Keith Mitchell was present at this meeting. Shame, shame, shame on you, Prime Minister. What are the plans in the event that someone contracts the virus? Okay, that's the comment that I thought I'd pull out and share with you folks this morning. Now, let us now get to the statement that was issued by the Ministry of Health. Gentlemen, ladies, everybody, hey, the gang's here, guys.
Morning.
Here's the statement that came from the Ministry of Health yesterday afternoon. I want to share this with you verbatim. As a result of the continued spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus and the new and updated threat assessment by the Ministry of Health, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, the Pan American Health Organization, and the World Health Organization, the government of Grenada will not allow any non-national with a travel history within the last 14 days from mainland China, whether in transit or originating, to enter any local port as of 12 a.m. on Sunday, the 2nd of February. That was midnight last night. Okay? Any national returning to Grenada with similar travel history will be quarantined for 14 days. While the government of Grenada recognizes and commends the tremendous efforts being made by the government of the People's Republic of China and the WHO, we believe that in light of the accelerated rate of confirmed cases, the decision of some of our fellow CARICOM nations, and the need to alleviate the uneasiness of our citizens in Grenada, we must make this decision to prevent the global threat from reaching our borders. As a responsible government, we are guided by both the international suggested protocols and separately by the wishes and concerns of the citizenry. It is in an effort to find the balance between these two guiding principles that we have made this decision. The travel ban on non-nationals with recent travel history to mainland China and the mandatory quarantine for Grenadians returning home after visiting or transiting through mainland China will remain in effect until further notice. All travelers are urged to be guided accordingly. That, my dear friends, was the statement issued by the Ministry of Health yesterday afternoon. I'm going to run that by you again a little later on in the program. However, right now, let's turn to this week's contribution. Let's see here. Little Angel, where's Little Angel this morning? Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, Little Angel is not on the prompter, but she is here. It is captioned, "Only in Grenada." The truth surrounding the details of the chartered flight from China, which arrived at Maurice Bishop International Airport on Tuesday the 28th, with at least 8 individuals, may never be known, but clearly it was not the best decision that could have been made. The question is, was the visit so important to Grenada that it had to take place in the wee hours of the morning, at a time when the country it came from is experiencing the effects of the deadly virus? Did the benefits of that visit to Grenada, if any, outweigh the negative consequences? Grenadians can only hope that the presence of the coronavirus on the island will not be one of the consequences of that visit, which was cause for concern and generated fear among citizens. It also demonstrated that those in charge have no regard for people living in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The authorities continue to ignore our people, either by making decisions unknown to them, or when certain decisions are discovered by chance, they prove not to be in the best interest of our people. Alienating ordinary Grenadians needs to stop. Unfortunately, there is no guarantee that this will happen anytime soon, since Grenadians themselves seem to have lost what it takes to do so. The Minister of Health made attempts to respond to queries as a result of the arrival of the Chinese flight, but it was not surprising that pertinent information was not provided. Grenadians still do not know the purpose of the visit from China and why it took place outside of normal working hours in the midst of a world health crisis. Grenadians are skeptical and cannot be blamed for questioning information which is made available to them, because the truth is never forthcoming. State secrecy in China is now being blamed for the spread of the virus in that country. Many people in Grenada were not convinced that the necessary protocols were conducted in order to prevent any possible spread of the coronavirus on the island. There is also speculation that leaders here may have been forced to bow to the wishes and fancies of another power, instead of seeking the interest of Grenadians, whom they are expected to serve. During a speech which was broadcast over Radio Free Grenada on April 13th, 1979, the late Maurice Bishop said, and I quote, "We are not in anybody's backyard," unquote. Today, landing a private airplane from China at the Maurice Bishop International Airport at 2 a.m. challenges that statement, which Grenadians will have to admit is no longer true. It is obvious that Grenada is someone else's backyard. Grenadians are not in charge and have lost control over matters that are of critical importance to them. The World Health Organization advised the whole world to be on the alert for the coronavirus. A British flight to take home 200 UK nationals was not allowed to take off from Wuhan on Thursday, January 30th. They were told that they were not to be flown out. So what part of China did this flight, which landed at MBIA, come from? What made it possible for it to leave China? And who allowed it to land in Grenada? If there was an outbreak of a disease in Grenada, which plane full of Grenadians, infected or not, would be allowed to land in China? At which airport? And authorized by which Chinese? Is Grenada home of the Chinese? Where in the world can Grenadians run if and when their island becomes infected? It is anyone's guess what the answers to these questions are. There is also no point in asking Grenadians to wake up. They have been asked to do so many times before. But one thing is for sure. Grenadians will wake up when it is too late. Okie dokie, pilgrims, there you have it. That's Little Angel's contribution this week. Well, let me see if I can just give you a sneak. I'm not gonna do that yet. Got my 3 guests sitting here very quietly. We'll keep you in suspense, and you'll get to see them in just a wee bit. But first, let's take this little break.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Conveniently located in the Grenada'S Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada's will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenLec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, pilgrims, it's now moved on to 15 minutes before the hour. We are running a little bit behind time, and that's the reason why I'm not going to go to your comments right now from social media, because I think we really need to make sure that we have quite a bit of time to talk with my guests who are in here this morning to talk about this plastic bag ban, okay? However, right now, let us get into this week's edition of the New Today. Here is their editorial. It is captioned, very sensitive. A wide cross-section of Grenadians has become incensed with the arrival on Tuesday at the Maurice Bishop International Airport of a private plane from mainland China, which is now the subject of the deadly coronavirus. The people are quite rightly suspicious of the plane, since it landed sometime around 2:30 in the morning, when the airport was already closed for the night. The government Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell, has given some details about the visit of the aircraft, and that was to bring business officials to the island. As far as the New Today is concerned, this is very insensitive and sends the unfortunate message that the ruling New National Party administration is prepared to put the mighty dollar above the health and welfare of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. The world is now a small global village, unlike the 1990s, when news from one part of it to another took several days and weeks to make the rounds. Almost everyone on this island gets information at the drop of a pin, and is fully aware that inside China itself, the authorities have taken many draconian measures to contain the spread of the killer virus by placing a number of provinces under 24-hour lockdown, including Wuhan, where the first person was infected. The Chinese have also taken other actions to prevent people in critical areas from traveling, including measures to curtail activities marking the important New Year holiday. This is a very big thing in China, since it is that one time of the year when family members gather together to have a meal to usher in the new year. Several other countries, like the United States and Britain and Australia, have taken important steps to protect their citizens living in China. British Airways has suspended flights into China at a time when Grenada is allowing a plane from China to land on its shores. The United States and France have chartered flights to take out their people, especially diplomats in coronavirus contaminated areas within China. Russia, which shares a border with China, is taking steps to bring home its citizens from neighboring China. The Chinese have a long history of being very secretive and will only tell the world what they feel that they should know. It's been reported that it took the authorities in China nearly 3 weeks to inform the world about the outbreak of the deadly virus, since their medical personnel sought to battle it all on their own. This newspaper recalls the terrible events of the Tiananmen Square in 1989, when the communist rulers sent in the army to quell disturbances started by university students in which thousands of people lost their lives. Today, no one knows the exact number of persons who were killed by the Chinese army on that historic square in Beijing, and what became of the remains of several of them. This is just part of the way the Chinese operate, and the world cannot be too sure with the official figures being put out by Beijing on the number of persons who died or fell ill from the coronavirus. The Mitchell-led government should have been far more sensitive to the fears of its own people by asking the so-called Chinese business officials to delay the trip until the situation is normalized. The reality of the situation is that Grenada is not in a position to deal with an outbreak of the deadly virus on its shores. The New Today would also like to make some passing comments on the week of violence in the country, especially with the use of illegal guns. This newspaper has articulated before that Grenada is showing increasing signs of becoming a lawless society. But unfortunately, the lawmen have allowed the drug culture to take root in some sensitive political areas, especially in the St. George Northwest constituency of the Prime Minister and the town of St. George of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. There are elements in some parts of the country who feel that because of their political support for certain politicians, the police have no right to interfere in their business, whether legal or illegal. And what is more unfortunate and sad is that some members of the Royal Grenada Police Force do not want to venture into some of these places to stamp out the illegal activities, including drug peddling, for fear of reprisals from the very politicians. A country that turns a blind eye to drugs and guns will eventually reap what it is sowing. There you have it, programs. That's your editorial from Friday's edition of the New Today. Okay, now we're gonna chime in, or have pilgrims here chime in. But first, a little break, pay some bills.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
One more for the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive. Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision-making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy. We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us
as we energize our Spice Island.
Redhead, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, here we go. Take a look. Look at that mob there this morning. They were kind enough to come spend part of their Sunday morning with us before heading off to the beach. Richard Beadle is the gentleman sitting on the left. He is a World Bank communications specialist. He's assigned to the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Climate Resilience, I beg your pardon. The lady right there in the center, like a little rose between two thorns this morning, is Dr. Clare Morall, who's been with us, God knows, umpteen times in the past. She's with the Grenada Green Group, that environmental group down at GRENADA'S. And Mr. Hayden, Redhead, says here, local environmental activist. Boy, what a lineup. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you all?
Very good. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. It's so good to be here, George. Good morning to all your listeners.
I didn't know you had this high position here with World Bank Communications Specialist, Ministry of Climate Resilience.
It's been a while since we've been able to communicate.
It's been a long time.
Yes. But I'm just helping on contract through the World Bank, assisting with the Ministry of Climate Resilience in this particular project, the rollout of a communication strategy with relation to the Non-Biodegradable Waste Control Act, which is, where the ban on plastics have come into effect.
This is one of the initiatives, I'm sure that Clare will agree with this, this is one of the initiatives of the government to protect the environment that seems to have taken on sort of life of its own. It seems to have teeth, Clare?
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Look at that smirk on her face. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah,
it's been a long time coming, but I'm extremely pleased to see the law coming in, the communication strategy, the way that the law has been implemented phase by phase, that there was a big consultation process before the legislation came in so that people were well informed. Everyone may not be completely happy about it, but people, who bring in these plastic items had a long lead time. I'm extremely happy. And maybe talk a little bit about the experiences we had yesterday a little bit later, but I was actually really very pleased to see so many people already doing better things with single-use plastic.
All right, let me say good morning to Hayden, and then I'm going to go to Richard to tell me about some of the activities in the run-up to this ban taking effect. Hayden, local environmental activist.
Yes, I've been called worse, George. I too am very pleased because I've spent, most of my life seeking knowledge and to protect the environment, particularly biodiversity, and more recently, on a broader sense, the entire climate under the climate change banner. So this is a very important move for Grenada, and I too am very happy with the government's stance on it, with the actions they've taken, and certainly with the public interest in it, and their uptake on it as well.
Okay. Now, let me get back to you, Richard. I know in the run-up to this ban taking effect, yesterday?
Today. Yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was the first.
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
All the days in this week have rolled into one for us. It's such a busy week. Yes, yesterday, February 1st, the full ban on the sale of single-use handle plastic bags came into effect.
Let's start by defining the objective. I'll tell you one thing. I do my shopping at Foodland downtown, okay? And I've been doing it since I moved up here, 5 years ago. This week's gonna be 5 years since I've been here. And when you go to Foodland, they give you a plastic bag with a handle. And I've become used to that for the last 5 years. I noticed maybe a little over a month ago, the bags didn't have handles. Which really, really peeved me off, because one day I was walking to the bus terminal and a bag of groceries fell in front of what was the place, Ando's place down there. That really took me off.
Yeah.
But since then, and I understand the objective. Let's get rid of the plastics.
Right.
It's bad.
Yes.
Okay. But I'll tell you, it took a while to get used to having to leave here with a bag to go into town. But you know something? I'm finding out that it's a lot easier to carry one big bag than a lot of little bags.
Yeah. That is so true, George. And as you said, it is a cultural shift That has to happen. Not too long ago, if you think far enough back, there was a time when you weren't going to the supermarket and getting lots of little plastic bags, but it became a habit. It became, I remember growing up in Jamaica, and we used to call them scandal bags because it was a scandal. Everyone could see what you bought in the supermarket. But they were pretty thick. You know, I remember going to the supermarket, I would get, 1 or 2 bags for all my groceries. But eventually they got, thinner and thinner, and then, they could only hold 1 or 2 items, and started going to the supermarket, and you'd get, a dozen bags if you're, conservative with the numbers. But this is not just happening in Grenada. This is a worldwide, a global phenomenon. This addiction to plastic, and I really do agree with as a consumer, this really proactive move by the Minister of Climate Resilience. So you might not agree with everything that the government decides to do, but to move to take on, to tackle this move to protect the environment is really far-reaching and forward-thinking, and it's challenging too. So I really do appreciate this move. As an environmental activist myself, I try to join Hayden in that rank and look at his example. But the truth is, getting individual citizens like what you described to make the shift, the mental shift. This is important, and trying to understand why it's important. And the thing that we're really most excited about from my perspective is the fact that this communication strategy, just going out and trying to get the public to understand the reason why, that the mass public can get a groundswell of support, this has been a cause that has been championed for such a long time. But I know yourself as an environmentalist, working together with groups like G3, about the litter. That is, they're focused on the litter problem, and a lot of that has to do with the plastics that are out. The CYEN, the SGU Eco Group, all these groups were with us yesterday, and this is what's so exciting. Yesterday, these 2 fine colleagues here with me were a part of a nationwide effort at different locations, just helping people remember to be ready, and actually handing out bags for helping persons going into supermarkets who were not prepared or didn't remember. They left their bag in their car. They weren't prepared, and it was very interesting to see the percentages of persons. Some really prepared, some got into the habit of it, and have been doing it because, as you said, the 2 things happened in the last couple of weeks. Some supermarkets, after the ban on plastics went into effect on the importation a year ago, some supermarkets moved to the bags without handles as an alternative. Some supermarkets decided we're going to join the fight. When our handle plastic bags cut off, and there's no more plastic bags. And we're going to encourage persons. Okay, we're going environmentally friendly. You can get a paper bag, all right, and the paper bag have a cost, or you can buy yourself a reusable bag or walk with your own. And it was a learning curve, I think, for some of the retailers. But I really say hats off to those who, what I say, voluntarily complied. They decided before February 1st. And our slogan in December when we launched the campaign was "Don't wait for the date." We'll wait until February 1st. And I really want to say also thank you, George, to the GrenadaBroadcast for consistently putting out the press releases and the articles that were focusing persons on this is coming, the 15-day countdown. A couple of weeks ago, this is coming, it's happening. We're moving toward what we call plastic-free shopping in Grenada. Now we know there's still plastic around, but this massive amount of plastic that would end up in our landfill, and our landfill is in trouble, all right? So it's really, really a big, big deal. And now our slogan is choose to refuse plastic, and that's what we're hoping will continue to spur Grenadians on to supporting this move.
Thanks for your salutations. Let me turn to Clare here for a minute. Clare, I've been working very closely with a couple of your colleagues in the Grenada Green Group, Mandu and Ian. And these guys have been taking me around and showing me some of a lot of the littering that's taking place around this country. It's disgusting. It's despicable. Clare, sticking with plastics, why is it so important that we clean up the environment of all the plastics we have in this place? I know you're probably one of the leading environmentalists in this country, so if anybody should know, you should tell me.
So you're not putting me on the spot or anything?
No, why would I do that? Are you kidding? No.
Well, I think really leading on from what Richard said this morning, I mean, plastic is a big problem. It's everywhere in the environment. I know you've been to some particular trouble spots. But plastic is, I think I have to say it, but plastic is fantastic. It's, become so much a part of our everyday lives. We use it. It's cheap and durable, and that durability is wonderful for us. But when it's being used just once, maybe for a few minutes, maybe for a few hours, and then it ends up in the environment, it will last in the environment for an extremely long time. I think some people have questions about biodegradable plastic and oxygradable plastic and all sorts of other things. But really, plastic of all types, if it's plastic, it doesn't break down, it breaks up, and it breaks up into ever smaller pieces. And plastic's made from petroleum, so it contains a whole bunch of chemicals that we really don't want to be up close and personal with. And then also, to add a whole variety of useful features to plastic, there's a whole variety of other chemicals that are added. So when that plastic breaks up into ever smaller pieces, those toxins carry with those small particles, gets into the environment, gets into the food chain, and we depend on the soil to grow good food. And when there's plastic in the soil, the contaminants leach out, get into the food we eat. When the plastic gets into the ocean, into the rivers, it's taken up into the bodies of fish and that sort of thing that we like to eat, gets into animal feed. And so from a very human perspective, we are really contaminating our environment in a big way, and that's a big problem. I mean, plastic is a big problem in so many different ways. That's one of them, from the exposure of human beings, but it also just looks disgraceful. And I know we've had this conversation before, that that we are facing some massive climate challenges and other environmental challenges here in Grenada and elsewhere. And you really would think that litter would be one of the easier problems to solve. But of course it's not, because it takes behavioural change for people to behave differently. If you've thought always that it's fine to throw things out of the window or discard things at the side of the road or throw it in the river, we need people to stop doing that sort of thing.
Change the mindset.
Yes, so you could say, well, we need to go into schools and educate and stuff, but I think there's probably people that you actually need to stop giving people such easy access to plastic, and I think that's kind of the plastic bag ban has gone some way, and styrofoam containers before that, and the things to come in the future with the next phase of the ban.
You talked about some of the good things of plastic, and you were concerned about it getting into the environment. If plastic is so good, and why couldn't we as a people be a little bit more appreciative? Yes, let's take advantages of the use of plastic, but for God's sakes, let's not dump it in the environment. Isn't that where the issue really lies?
I think it is, but I think even if people do the right thing with their single-use plastic in terms of using it and then putting it in the garbage, Perseverance is filling up. I mean, I can't remember the statistic, but such a massive volume of plastic is imported into Grenada, is used on a daily basis, ends up at Perseverance. And, Perseverance, the plastic isn't going through a different magical process. It's breaking up, it's leaching out into the environment around. So I think there's a number of different things. I mean, as the Grenada Green Group, we're focused on reducing the amount of litter, so we're trying to bring about change for people to stop disposing of litter inappropriately. But the plastic is the big problem with that, because it just doesn't go away. I remember after Hurricane Ivan, years after that, doing cleanups during the dry season and finding stuff that had been there clearly for 5 years, but some plastic bottles, for example, they're forecast to break down over a period of maybe 100 years or more. And again, breaking down into smaller pieces. We may not be able to see it so obviously, but it's certainly still a massive problem for us, for the environment, for the biodiversity that we depend on. And again, we've had this conversation before, but the environment is our life support system. We depend on clean air, clean water, clean soils.
So you're saying there's a health hazard?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, I mean, and as plastic production increases and use of plastic increases, there's just more and more getting into the environment and more risk we're putting, you know, to ourselves and to the biodiversity that we depend on for life.
Shame. Okay, let me get to, I want to go back to Richard first. In the run-up to today, you guys have had a number of activities.
Yes.
Very briefly, let's talk about those activities. And then I want Hayden to tell me, as an activist, what sort of response does he get out there? You know, when you run around this place trying to clean up a mess, which, by the way, is something that really agitates me. People just indiscriminately dump all over the place.
Right.
Then you have people from the medical school or other schools around the island having to go clean up. I've seen this down at Grenada'S.
Yes.
You know, people just dumping, and then the green group has to go clean it up. Wait a minute.
It is all about identifying, George, how we can take responsibility for not just our own garbage, but responsibility for our environment. And you know, on one hand, while I support the efforts of the ministry, and that in my official role with them, my appeal and our whole campaign has really been to help the individual understand their own responsibility. Of course, some of the things that we did, the consultations, a lot of this started long before I started to participate in the process. But you know, making sure that the customs workers and the ministry officials understand the process and the process of the law. But even before that, the consultations with the importers and the retailers and the wholesalers, and finding out how this change in the law would impact on their businesses. A really, I think, responsible approach to make sure that no one was put out. And it really stretched it out, and people like Hayden would probably look at it and say, you know, we give people too much time because we need to do it now. I think it's a delicate balancing act that the government has to decide, you know, do I use a sharp knife and just cut it off now and say, okay, we have to act now, or do we try to make sure that, you know, our business people are not put out? And as Clare shared, no one is ever going to be happy with change, you know, but it was successfully done, I believe, with the styrofoam ban earlier on in 2018, and then this phase is the single-use handled plastic bags, and coming up on the 1st of March this year is going to be the ban on the importation of disposable utensils, disposable plastic utensils, and all this is coming out of the task force that included lots of different ministries and groups who talked about, you know, what's the best approach, how do we get the low-hanging fruit, those massive amounts of plastic goods that are single-use that are coming in, and where do we start? It's a long journey, but it's a good start. You know, and a year from March 1st this year, we will again be talking about the full ban on disposable utensils. What I'm excited about is that individuals are choosing compliance. Individuals are already making the change in the same way that we saw people making the change towards their reusable bags before the ban came into effect. And not just shoppers. I really want to laud those businesses who have chosen to not issue plastic bags, although the law specifically speaks to food. There are businesses who have chosen, you know, no, I'm getting on board. I'm not going to be supporting. I choose to refuse plastic myself as a business. Right, and when it comes to this disposable utensils, there's a great opportunity for industry in Grenada for you know, creation of reusable from natural materials, utensils, and we already see some of that happening in Grenada. And so, there's so much positive and good can come out of this, and we already see that groundswell towards that mindset. And we're hoping that, a year from now, it will be such much easier process where so many people will have chosen to move away from disposable utensils from single use, so that they'll be saying the government should hurry up. This ban is
Well,
happening.
I hope you're right about that, because it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, we know that.
Yes.
Claire, don't laugh, but it's a fact. Okay, and I want you to prepare, because I'm going to ask you in a little while from now, for those who just decide they ain't going to comply. I want to hear about enforcement, because we have something called the Noise Control Act. They laugh as soon as I mention Noise Control Act, because they know where I'm going. We need enforcement. We have a lot of laws in this place, no enforcement. Let me get to you, Hayden. So, you've been out there cleaning up the environment.
It's one of the things I've been doing, George, but I'm actually happy you ended on that note. And I think maybe we should also have a campaign to change calling laws acts, because I think some of them are just like Hollywood. They're just for pretend.
The acting?
Yeah, it's acting, because we say we're going to put an act into place, and that's all that's happening, a lot of acting.
Yeah.
So Richard's probably getting a bit nervous, because I tend to be a bit controversial. So
go right ahead.
Yeah, please. So what I have found is that I've done a lot of, as you said, cleaning up, but I've done a lot of observation on human behavior, and particularly human behavior faced with such changes as are occurring now. So yesterday I was at a particular location, was a bit apprehensive as to what I would face. I was very pleased with the amount of people who were complying, some of which I knew had been complying even before the ban came into effect. I also, as Richard and Claire know, have been involved in a movement of getting Grenada to join the climate strikes and broadening our field of thinking in terms of not just plastics. What are we doing about our fuels, our renewable energy? What are we doing about the pollution, land-based marine pollution?
Sewage.
Yes, big one. So, interacting with Grenadians, you also use the term enforcement. So over the last few years, I've been involved in quite a number of literally debates, arguments over where are we in terms of the scale of things. Are we at education? Are we at enforcement? And unfortunately, globally, it's estimated that over 50% of people on the planet are aware now of the impacts of climate change, are aware of the issues of pollution, and are taking some minimal, at least, actions. My assessment of the situation in Grenada is quite more grave than that. I think way less Grenadians are aware, way less Grenadians make an attempt to educate themselves, and I think we have gone beyond that point now of just using the passive approach of please do this and kindly do that. And I am one of those who support a mix of the education and enforcement. I think the enforcement will become necessary faster than I think some of my colleagues envision. But just look around. We call ourselves Pure Grenada. That's our calling. That's our calling code. But yet still, as you indicated, stuff gets thrown out, vehicles. So I had the privilege recently of visiting Madrid. I joined with, as part of the organization I work with, and I was there also with the Grenada delegation. And I was fascinated, impressed, blown away literally by how clean that city was. I saw no cleaners, yet still the train stations were clean. There were bins all around for recycling and throwing away. I observed a few people drop candy wrappers on the ground. They immediately bent over and picked it up. I happened to pick up a piece of litter once at a conference, and a lady followed me for a few meters to say thank you for picking it up. The McDonald's, where people go and eat and toss things around, is a kiosk to throw your waste, and it's all separated. It was pristine. These people clearly take a personal responsibility. The only time I see Grenadians taking that personal responsibility to the level of a mass of us doing the right thing is when it's time for partying, when it's National Colors Day. Oh my God, if the people who dressed in national colors on National Colors Day showed any sense of pride for 1/4 the rest of the year, we wouldn't be here having this discussion. On National Colors Day, everybody looks clean, everybody cleans up the community because they want to win a competition. They want somebody to take a picture of their community, put it in the papers, or put it in social media. No, we need to do that. We need to take that inside and do it all year round. We are fast destroying not just our environment, but on a global scale. And everybody acknowledges that Grenada is not a big offender. But when you do the statistics in terms of our production of waste and our production of emissions, we're up there with the biggest producers per capita, which is not good. We should be leading by example, and we should all take into account the pure, the spice, all these fancy things that we do, but we don't live it on a daily basis. We want somebody else to take responsibility. I think, as I said also, I've been discussing this with Richard, I think it's a socioeconomic issue as well. For the last few years, my observations have led me to understand that I get heckled more by the locals and the so-called ground people, the roots people. The foreigners, the expats, and the people of a certain socioeconomic level completely get it, are supportive. When we're on the streets doing our work, they honk the horns, they give thumbs up. Grenadians come and heckle me and ask me crazy questions. They bad talk us. They do all those things. You know, you're there. The kids are fine. The kids get it. Lots of the kids get it. Trust me, I've had some serious aha moments when the kids get on board without even having to be forced or schooled in it, as you say. But I think on a broader scale, Canadians
what you're saying there is so true. That this is a discussion we had on Grenada'S one morning. I noticed that there were people cleaning up the beach at Grenada'S. I didn't see any locals, you know. I didn't see any locals.
Yeah.
But the stuff they were cleaning up is stuff that was dumped there by locals. This was around the carnival time. You know, the jab clothes and all that kind of stuff. That's pathetic.
Well, as you say, jab, let me just jump in. I know you probably want to chat back with Richard, but let's talk about the jab for 1 second. It may not be plastic, but imagine you have an oil spill on your calendar. A planned oil spill.
Yeah.
I can never get it. You're scheduling an oil spill. Right? Think about that. We all.
It's real. It's real.
Can we all join together? We won't join together to clean. It's how much? 100,000 jab. That's the thing. 100,000 jab is participating in an oil spill, but the 100,000 jab wouldn't help us clean up.
Aren't we now a Jab Nation?
There you go.
I think so.
Jab Nation? Okay.
I think George,
enforcement, Richard.
And just to tailgate of what Hayden was sharing, I think I want to encourage Grenadians. You know, whenever I speak about Grenadians, people hear my accent and they'll say, well, you're not even Grenadian, you know.
Are you Japanese?
Not Chinese.
Oh, Chinese?
No, I grew up in Jamaica, but, you know, I have children who live in Grenada. I have a beautiful daughter who was born here. You know, pure Grenada as the future of this country means a lot to me. This is where I live. This is where I've been living for almost 10 years. And, you know, I have no plans to leave, you know, and we need to take our responsibility for what happens. You know, enforcement, I would not even try to speak on behalf of law enforcement because I don't speak on behalf of the government, George. But I will say this. One of the moves that I appreciate with the way the legislation was done is with there being a ban on importation. The border being the place that stops the majority of it getting in, because you are going to get those people who resist, those people who, you know, they're under the radar, they're you know, the small mom and pop shops, you know, they're somewhere where it's not easy to get to them. They're in a community where they feel invincible and they can do their own thing. You know, all those things exist, you know, but what the government did was, by approaching it by by aiming the first tranche of the legislation on the importers. And that's where you can really get it done. The single-use handle plastic bags can no longer come into Grenada legally. All right, now, are there illegal ports? I'm sure that there probably are. But the fact that they can't get them in, the port workers are all on board. The borders are being manned that will stop this from getting in. So eventually, those who want to break the law will not be able to break the law without, going out of their way to try to bring it in. Now, doing that situation with the growing groundswell of individual support, what I'm calling for, George, is for every Grenadian to choose to go against plastic. There was a couple of months ago, as we were leading up to this, weeks ago, leading up to the ban, there were some retailers who were concerned. They ran out of plastic bags. Should we get more plastic bags? Should we get the ones without the handles? Because customers are complaining, and they were afraid that customers would go somewhere else to shop. I want to challenge my Grenadian brothers and sisters. If you go to a supermarket or any kind of retail store and they are offering you plastic, shop somewhere else. Because they are not trying to protect pure Grenada from plastic pollution. They are contributing to the problem. So I'm saying, let us rise up as a anti-plastic jab nation, if you want to call it that. Let's see 10,000 anti-plastic people rise up, and we start saying to these retailers, if you are not going to support pure Grenada, then your business is going to be known as one that is against what we're about.
Name and shame.
Name and shame them. Yeah, point it out, because the power really is in the people. The retailers are fighting. There are some retailers fighting against it because they think that the public expects it. So if we change the public expectation and we let them know, no, pure Grenada is important. Pure Grenada is important. We start listening to experts like Dr. Morall here and say, listen, it's getting into our food chain, it's getting into the water. We don't want to GRENADA'S beach turn up like some of our Caribbean neighbors who only banned plastic, and when they saw tourists getting into the water and getting up, and they have like a plastic bathing suit on them because there's so much plastic in the water. Let's not wait until the world shames us into doing the right thing. Let us shame those who aren't on board, and let us choose to refuse plastic and really take the lead and let the governing authorities catch up to what we're doing as individuals. So, the power is really in the hands of the people. And we're just hoping that this continues on this projection. And before, I just want to say thank you. You mentioned the youth. The Woburn Methodist School sent out some youth yesterday to help.
They were fantastic.
They were fantastic, giving out bags and talking to people about why. We had the ECHO group from FGU, which were a lot of local students who are environmentally conscious. CYEN, another local group, was helping out at another supermarket. Lions Club was out there. Specto up in St. Patrick's. On Friday went out in supermarket areas and so on, giving out bags. So many individuals.
Am I hearing you saying that there's change in the air?
It's I can smell it.
Hayden's
I can feel it. I see it happening. I see it happening, George. And those who are hesitant, just look. You go into the supermarkets, people are walking with all kinds of alternatives to plastic, and it's a good thing.
George, he has a pink bag.
If I could say, I was at a site in Grenada'S yesterday, and I couldn't believe that. I would say that 2 out of every 3 people coming into the supermarket already were walking with their bags. So it may be a difficult change, and I understand that it's going to be annoying. When I was grocery shopping yesterday, I was desperately concerned I was going to run out of my reusable bags because I was buying a lot of things. And but we saw people coming out of the supermarket who didn't have bags but were making do. They had a couple of items, they're already wrapped in plastic, and they just walked with them. And it's, you know, so I think behavioural change isn't particularly easy, but there's been a relatively gentle nudge, I think, at least from my perspective, the way the government's gone about, the phased approach, and I think the way that the enforcement has been done, hopefully has meant that it's not a huge pain for people. And I think, again, Richard said, you know, it wasn't that long ago that we didn't have this massive abundance of plastic either. So it's not like we're doing something that is so completely unknown to us. You know, there is a history of us walking with bags, and it's much more convenient. If I could just say, because you asked me a little bit about the public health side of it, the problems with plastic, and I think what I did forget to mention is really that plastic is problematic on all sorts of different levels. And a few people yesterday were saying, well, why haven't we already banned plastic bottles, and why are we still allowing bags without handles? Well, they're really great questions. But I think piggybacking on Richard's point there, we can refuse. We have incredible power. So can you not choose to refuse a plastic bottle? Can you use an alternative? Bring your own, that sort of thing. And I think going back to, if I can, I'm a bit jumping around here, but we have a lot of problems in Grenada with things like flooding, and that is massively exacerbated by the fact that our drains fill with plastic. Yeah. And so that's one big problem. Breeding of mosquitoes, of course, is another big problem. We're all very concerned about coronavirus, I'm sure, right now, but we also need to be concerned about dengue and Zika and these problems that we've had in the past. And plastic, because it lasts such an incredibly long time, provides fantastic breeding sites for mosquitoes, and that also contributes to public health problems of all different types. So we actually, I feel that with indiscriminate use of plastic, poor disposal of plastic, it's a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And for a developing country like Grenada with limited resources, and I've said this so many times over, you know, really the last couple of decades in Grenada, people say, well, you know, but it gives people jobs, you know. If you ditch plastic in the, you know, litter in the side of the road, it gives people jobs. Wouldn't it be so much better if people were beautifying? We could pay people to beautify and keep Grenada's standards so high, rather than picking up other people's garbage. I mean, I must say that is one thing that really does sicken me, rather. Yeah. I think the Grenada Green Group, we've really largely moved against doing cleanups in communities where there's not massive community involvement, because it's not for, you know, I'm clearly not Grenadian. I've lived there for almost 20 years, but I'm not Grenadian. I don't want to go to somebody else's community to clean up for them to think, well, I can throw stuff because those good people are going to come and clear up again. But we just need to somehow break out of this. It's okay to leave stuff. And actually, I was in the mangrove with a set of my students on Friday, and beautiful mangrove area, you know, nature, there was mangrove cuckoos, it was gorgeous. And the students found like 3 massive bags of garbage that someone had just, like, out of sight, out of mind, just put it in there. I mean, like, I find it very difficult to relate to how and why somebody would think that's okay. But I'm hoping that with the legislation and increased awareness on the problems of plastic, that hopefully it will help nudge people into thinking differently about the problems. The ban is not to, you know, give people jobs to do. It's because we want to protect our environment. It's because we want to help develop Grenada. We want the place to look beautiful for ourselves. We want it to be a place that people want to come to, people want to live, to stay. And I see, you know, we all have, I mean, there's huge numbers of mental health problems in Grenada. The environment provides that wonderful space for us to reconnect to nature. But I must say, when I reconnect to nature and I find like mountains of dumped material, it kind of detracts from that nature experience somewhat. So we need the environment not only just for places to go, like, chill out and feel good about things, but we need it for the food, the air, the water that we need, and we really do need to start looking after it better, and that is everybody needs to start looking after it better.
One of the most important things you guys have done so far this morning is make me aware or confirm my sense that there is change taking place. Clare, your green group.
Yeah, I believe
Clare,
so.
Mandu and Ian have taken me and my camera on 2 tours, one up the East Coast and one up the West Coast, okay? These guys, they do these routes pretty much on a daily basis, and they've done it for years, so they are aware of what's been going on. The last time we went up the West Coast, we had a discussion along the way that, hey, you know, this is really not as bad as it was, huh? One thing remains very persistent, and that's the dumping of derelict vehicles on the side of the road.
very
It's
much so.
all over the place. Before I move along, let me, one of the key things about this program is allowing viewers to participate, and I've been very negligent this morning in doing that. Anthony Howard's, oh, hold on, let's start with Renewed Purpose. I think she came first. Renewed Purpose says, if I don't live close to a bin and cannot afford a barrel, should I bury or burn my garbage? The government has not been proactive, and I believe it would have been so much better to have a recycling program in place to get rid of both single-use and other-use plastics. So many things can be made from recycled plastic. Are we getting rid of garbage bags? If the answer is in the affirmative, what does that mean for householders and business places? Should every household get a drum or barrel to put by the roadside? It is so much neater to place a garbage bag in the bin and allow the bin to fill. Another big problem is that the government has removed many of the spots that were assigned to throw out garbage. Plus, the garbage pickup times are not very consistent. Are we putting the cart before the horse? Renewed Purpose, let me say this. Hey, I'm going to let them respond to you in a minute, but let me say this. Garbage removal here, these guys, you can set your watch, 7 o'clock every morning, 7 days a week out here. Great admiration for the work they're doing. Let me hear you guys on what Renewed Purpose has.
Those are great questions, and as we've been doing the consultations, we've been having them. The first thing is that garbage bags are not a part of the ban. So garbage bags are, that's an easy answer. Garbage bags are still allowed to be sold.
The plastic ones?
Yes, you can go in and you can buy a package of garbage bags.
Those big bags.
Those big bags, and put your garbage in, right? The more important question though is, here's the thing, George, we're addicted. We have to understand that we need an intervention when it comes to plastic. We're resisting it because it's so easy to do. Someone asked me the question, you know, what am I gonna do with the garbage? And my answer was, go and ask your grandmother. Because as you said, there's a time when this wasn't a big issue. You know, there's a time when people are telling me they used to walk to the supermarket with their baskets to get their stuff. There was no need to go and get a plastic bag and the plastic bag, because it's single use. There's so many of them, and then it just became the de facto garbage receptacle, right? The biodegradable waste, the food and stuff, we would feed the animals. There was small composting being done. You know, it would the stuff, everything that we throw in garbage now. There was a more healthy, you know, environmentally aware approach that our grandparents and sometimes our parents used to use right here on a regular basis. It's not such a difficult thing to figure out. And you know, I do know that there might be some challenges, but my own experiences with garbage collection is that the solid waste department is really doing a fantastic job trying to manage the garbage collection, right? Now, I personally, as an individual citizen, I don't think that I personally don't like the areas, this large location, close to somebody's house, close to a community. Sometimes it's a lower income community, and people pass by and just throw their garbage. And there's one particular one that is very close to a school, and I walk past and I see students, young students, teenagers, and then I see rats because there's a big garbage, receptacle there, and it's become normal to expect that people live with this unhealthy situation. No, it's not normal. So let's change that mindset. Let's change that mindset. Do what we can, right? Support the fight against the plastic pollution. Wean ourselves off of this addiction, thinking, oh, what am I gonna do? The sky is falling. And let's support the activities, get ourselves some knowledge and change our habits.
Can I chime in just with a few things? Because I think the beginning of the question, there was a couple of things about burying it and burning it. Absolutely not. When it comes to plastic, please absolutely don't burn it. When plastic is burned, if it's not bad enough as it is, but dioxin, which is actually one of the most potent toxic chemicals that's ever known, forms. So absolutely do not burn plastic, whatever you do. Not in your backyard, not in anyone else's backyard, nowhere. And burying it as well, I mean, it's really, that's not a solution either. And absolutely recycling. I'm hoping that in the next, not too distant future, that we're going to have viable options for recycling in Grenada, but right now recycling is not viable. There's no market for plastic. Yes, there's things that you can do with plastic, but on a small scale of Grenada, yes, tons goes to Perseverance, but there's nothing that can be done with it that wouldn't cost an absolute fortune. That is one of the ironies of plastic. Virgin plastic coming in is so cheap and easy. Sorting all these various different types, different colors, different materials of plastic, and actually doing something with them, it is not viable. Even in developed countries, they haven't solved that yet. Scaling it down to a population of 100,000.
All right.
Barbados is moving ahead. They're 3 times the population of us, and I'm hoping we'll learn lessons from them. But I think the other thing to say is that we need to stop using so much plastic. The recycling is, it may give you a bit of a feel good, but it's still a huge amount of resources that's going in, petroleum resources, energy resources, and with the context of climate change, we need to stop using such huge amounts of energy, such huge amounts of oil, so and I feel for people who live far away from where there are, decent places for garbage, but I really do feel that the Solid Waste Management Authority in Grenada are doing a fantastic job. So if you do have a particular problem in your neighbourhood, I think they'll be eager to hear. They are trying to solve problems.
Yeah, they're pretty good around there.
And you can call them and they'll come and get garbage.
Anthony Howard says, thank you, Hayden, for speaking up. It's about time our government takes steps to address that planned oil spill that you were talking about earlier on. He says those who know better are expected to do better. He also made a comment earlier on. He says, I understand that today's focus is on the impact of plastic bags being released into our environment. But can you guys please touch on the untreated human waste being released into our coastal waters? We have Nawasa releasing human waste into our coastal waters, and I'm sure the hundreds of yachts anchored in our coastal waters are doing the same. I'm especially concerned about the yachts anchored off Pandy and Grandad's Beach. I know you guys came to talk about plastic.
Deep breaths.
Well, I do tell my students often that I talk a lot of garbage, but I do have to say I also talk a lot of sewage at times as well. So yeah, it's a very good question and one of great concern. I think particularly in areas where there's very high population density. I work at the university. More and more people are living down in that area, in the True Blue area as well. So it's certainly a matter of great concern from the population on land. And I think always people think of the yachties in particular because it's such a direct pipe, if you like, for their waste. But really it's just a slightly longer pipe for the vast majority of the rest of us. So it's certainly cause for concern. And as a marine scientist, something that I'm very, very concerned about. All sorts is being released into the environment through untreated sewage. And I think it's something that needs to be looked at, from a public health perspective, from a country where we have beautiful coral reefs and we're very dependent on those. So yeah, certainly an area of concern.
I do think that this is a big problem all over the region, especially those communities that depend on the coastal areas for industry and commerce. The truth is, Clare touched on the fact that recycling is a challenge and it's not sustainable at this time. Waste treatment is also one of those challenges, and I know that there are moves throughout the region to deal with wastewater recycling and figuring out how to do that in a more sustainable way. So it's just a process.
Even getting energy from waste. I mean,
yes.
from sewage waste. There are places where it's been used to fuel, the production of energy. So,
my goodness.
I know.
Right.
It's
just that it takes time and it's costly.
All right, I'll tell you what, guys. When these guys came here this morning and they wanted to know, well, how long are we going to be talking? And I said 45 minutes, and they went, don't think we have that much to talk about. They have gone over 45 minutes. We really got to go because we have some other stuff coming your way. Very quickly, in a minute or less, could you please, now that the ban is in effect, final word to our audience. Let me start with you.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations to the administration for the work they have done, the support structures through UNDP and other NGOs and the community. Those who have taken the move, I just encourage others to do it because this is a situation, not just the plastics, the jab, the pollution, all sorts, the land-based, the marine. It's a lot to do with taking personal responsibility for your environment, for your children's future, for the planet. We all can make a difference, and those who can't make a personal difference, lobby your administration, lobby your representatives in the area, work with the NGOs and other citizens to make that impact, to generate some good feeling, and I just want to say thanks again.
Hayden, Richard?
Yes, really, really grateful for all the groups and the support that has come. We have to choose to refuse plastic, and I want to leave a parting jab to a group that we haven't talked about, the religious community. I have my own peeve with the church and their response to the environmental question. We've been given this beautiful earth to steward. It was a gift. We take care of our gifts. The church sometimes doesn't respond unless they think it's a sin. I think it's a sin to destroy your environment. So we need to have some pastors and some groups working hard to fight against environmental unsustainability. Choose to refuse plastic.
I am so happy to hear you bring the churches up with regards to the environment because they have failed us in a lot of different areas, and I am saying that looking at you right in the eye. Not just the environment, in a lot of social issues you have failed us. Let me hear your final word.
I'm not sure how I follow that, but really just encourage everybody to do better with plastic, to really, the plastic bag ban is just one piece of the puzzle. It's not perfect, but you as a consumer on an everyday basis, each and every single one of us can choose to do better. Bring your reusable bottle, don't buy plastic bottles. Walk with your bags. Not everybody remembers every time. I'm guilty of going to the supermarket sometimes. I think we all do it. But over time, you make sure that they're with you when you're going to the store, just in the same way that you remember to take your shopping list. Hopefully, if you remember that, your purse, you walk out with your phone. It will become a habit, and it's great habits like that you do every single time that makes an enormous difference. And I can't wait to see Grenada without plastic bags caught in the bushes, without them blocking up drains. I think this is going to have an impact, and it's really just a starting point for so much better and much purer Grenada in the future.
Choose to refuse plastic.
Choose to refuse plastic. All right, Claire, you keep an eye out for me with either a red bag or a pink bag. George going down Lucas Street with a pink or red bag, man, he's got the message. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, George. Thanks to your listeners here. It's been wonderful.
It's been a pleasure having you guys. And you know, down the road, you may want to come back and remind people. If you see people still goofing off, come on back and remind them. Hey?
Definitely.
Yeah, man. Okay. All right. All right, folks, I'll tell you what. Coming up next, we're going to have a conversation, or I had a conversation yesterday morning with a former fire chief here in Grenada, Daniel Searles. Interesting stuff. And we'll get to that in a wee bit.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Conveniently located in the Grandstand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenada's will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Helen,
Hey, neighbor.
here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlec is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
GrenadaC, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, it's now 6 minutes away from 11 a.m. My dear friends, watch this conversation between former Fire Chief Daniel Searles and yours truly yesterday morning. And this stems from his reaction to a lot of criticisms which were issued against the fire department following a spate of fires in January. In fact, in 1 week, I think we had 3 or 4 fires. Check this out, my dear friends. Check this out.
Native head of state, but more time with Sir Paul Schoon. I was also the equerry to Her Majesty the Queen when she visited here in 1985, on the 31st of October, 1985. Which resulted in my being honored with the MVO, Member of the Royal Victorian Order.
Okay.
After that, after we had the financial complex fire in St. George in 1990, I was invited to a meeting by the late Prime Minister Sir Nicholas Brathwaite, and I was asked if I was interested in going back into the fire department. Well, it's obvious. You had to consult with Sir Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So that was done, and I said yes. But prior to that, in 1983, I was trained at CATI, Civil Aviation Training Institute at Trinidad, and Waller Field also in Trinidad, dealing with aircrafts. Because that was just the beginning, or more or less, to come into the opening of the airport in 1984. So I was sent off to England on a fireman's course in Washington Hall, Chorley, Lancashire. On completion, I came back here and I realized that the fire department was somewhat degraded. So the then commissioner and I spoke, and I said, do you want me to run a fire department or you want me to run a Boy Scout? And I said, listen, this is what we need. And the fire department started to upgrade.
In terms of equipment or manpower?
Equipment, training, everything.
Okay.
I did a lot of training with the men. 2 o'clock in the morning, I would come down, set off the alarms. And sometimes we'll shut off all the lights in the fire station and just use the spotlights on the vehicles. Because fires do not only start at daytime, at nighttime. We'll do a ladder drill just using the spotlight. We'll do a rescue from the tower, that tall building you see in the fire station. The men won't please, but I believe if you're going to be a professional firefighter, training is daily important. And that's what I did. So I retired as head of the fire department in 1995. Almost 29 years.
Okay. All right, now the fire department has obviously come a long way since those days. Maybe some good, maybe some not so good. And recently, we've had a spate of fires, actually last month, the month of January. I know that the acting commissioner of police was concerned about that. And apparently it caught your attention and you were on television expressing some concerns as well. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the fire department of the past, but I want you to spend some time sort of doing a comparison when necessary. If you have to make any reference, by all means, go ahead and do that. What is it that really sparked you into taking to the airwaves this past week to talk about the fire department?
It was the removal of the crash tenders, and it has happened over and over. The removal of the crash tenders from the international airport.
In local language, the fire brigades from the
fire
airport.
trucks,
Okay.
crash tenders there.
All
They
right.
call rescue vehicles as well.
Okay.
The domestic fire department would assist the airdrome fire department back up with water in case they are needed. Like if you're going to have a real crash landing, it's obvious you're going to need some extra water coming.
And then they can call on the guys on the carnage and
National Fire Service,
Right, okay.
or domestic fire service. So they will come down, even though you're the headquarters fire department, you still have to work under the airdrome fire department. Now an aircraft in distress can land. There are many different types of landing. Wheels up, belly landing, whatever you want to do. Yeah. And a crash tender should only respond to a downed aircraft within 1 mile to 3 miles from the center of the airport runway. For example, in Lansapine, a crash tender can respond.
Okay.
But on arrival of the national or domestic fire department, automatically the crash tenders proceed back to base. So you can lift your category again and operate as what you are licensed to operate.
Okay.
The minute a crash tender is removed from the airport, the category of the airport automatically drops by about 2 categories. So if you're operating as a 9 and you move, that means you have to go to a 7. So you're in trouble.
And these categories are important because that's how international organizations like ICAO and so on decide whether or not it's safe for an airline or whoever to fly into your airport.
Yeah. ICAO governs the world.
Yeah.
International civil, not military bases.
That's International Civil Aviation Organization. Okay.
Yeah, ICAO. Yeah. So they will come to give you your license, inspecting what you have, and determine what license, what category they will give you. Now, the minute a category drops, there is something called a NOTAM, where you have to notify all airports within our airspace that we are not at a 9 again, but we're now at a 7.
NOTAM is short, it's a synonym for Notices to Airmen, N-O-T-A-M.
Yeah. That's it.
Go ahead. So
then once you get back, that you have all your crash tenders, everything back, they are refilled, checked out, then again you send back notices that you're back to your category.
Okay.
Now when the airport was just opened, we had to go to Spice Isle Shredders to change a tire. But now everything is done on the airport. You have your own mechanics, you have all your tires, the big spares to put on if you have to. So there is no need really. And if you can recall, even with Purcell's fire, a crash tender was brought up. That's on Halifax Street.
From the airport.
Yeah. Which again is a violation. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done, but it's a violation of ICAO rules and regulation. But we've been practicing it, so all that goes well ends well.
Yeah.
All that goes well ends well.
You know what I found so ironic when I heard you talk about this is that just within days of you talking about this, we had an incident here which I think everybody's aware about right now. The situation with JetBlue, where they lost an engine right after takeoff. I mean, thank God that panned out well. There wasn't any need for fire services or anything like that. But in a case like that, even though the airplane landed safely, these guys at the airport had to be on their P's and Q's.
Oh, yes.
Just in case.
Yep.
Yeah.
They had to either take up positions alongside the runway. Well, there's a rapid intervention. That's the fastest. The others two are two big majors. They lumber along, you know? Yeah. And when they start to spit out or discharge, it's a volume that's going to be coming, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Even with the foam that is used today, I'm not too sure. I know there are 3 types of foams: AFFF, aqueous film forming foam, protein foam, or fluoroprotein. They have their advantages and disadvantages.
Now, another issue which came out of the fire on Grenville Street, I think it was that there were claims that there was a hole in one of the hoses, and I'm not sure if he was trying to rebut that allegation or what, but the acting commissioner of police actually did come out and say that they have 150 spare hoses. What do you know about that? Would that have been a major issue in fighting that fire?
Well, whether the hose, now at the end of every fire scene, hoses are cleaned, pressure tested to see you have no leaks before they are rolled, drained, dried, and placed back on the fire truck. Yeah. So I don't know if that is being done. But I saw it on the clip on television where actually the spray from the hose was reaching way up to the top of the building. Having 150.
That's from the real nozzle?
No, not from the nozzle, from the hose itself.
From the hole?
Hose itself. Ooh. And that brings me back to St. Vincent when they had a big fire. All the hoses were like strainers. And I think Sir James Mitchell was Prime Minister at the time, and he called an immediate meeting, and what's this? You have 150 lengths of hose. You know what I mean? Did we check them before we put them back on the truck? I'm not saying that they may have been a weak spot. They were pressure tested. All the procedures went through. And then at the scene, it may have. Because I have seen, even responding to domestic fires with our trucks, on arrival, even as we test them 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and that was 8 p.m. somewhere up in Laurel Lands, the fire truck broke down on arrival. So we had to use a bucket brigade to help extinguishing the house fire. Now, water and electricity are not friends.
Yes, I know.
They're not friends.
Yeah.
And we have 3 types of extinguishing agents here: water, foam, and wet chemical. Well, water is for Class A fires, any combustible material.
You go spray?
Yeah. Well, they're different. You have diffuser, you have fog, you have jet, and so on. You have different types of deliveries or discharges you can make. You'll probably use a fog, and I've seen it, I've experienced it, where we had a 20-pound bottle on fire. And an officer who's still in the service, he and I entered the building under a fog, took up the burning 20 pound, exited the building, went to the back of the building, placed it in a blogger stool, backed off again, and by the time we got up to the road, that was the explosion. So, it's not only that. I've seen 100 pounds, I've seen 20 pounds, you know what I mean?
And the foam, I guess, would come into being when
liquid fires, gasoline, dieseline, kerosene, alcohol, paint thinners, paints, cooking oils, fats. That's the primary extinguishing agent for what we call a Class B fire.
And in aircraft crashes and stuff like that.
Exactly. You have thousands of gallons of fuel. One thing I'm told today, that the aircrafts can drop their fuel.
Yes.
But prior to that, they had to circle for hours to burn up that fuel to reduce the risk of, explosion and what have you. So
there was a high-profile case of that in California just in the past
just recently,
weeks.
Yeah. Dumped it on a school or something.
Yes.
Mad people.
Okay.
So they are so designed.
Okay.
Even if, as you said just a while ago, it wasn't a matter of a couple of days. It was a matter of, even probably when the recording of the interview was done with me, that aircraft, JetBlue, may have been in difficulty. Because my wife even said, why are you a prophet? You foresaw this thing, Yeah. So let us say that you had called out the crash tenders and that had happened, what would happen?
If there was a
exactly
crash landing, yeah.
What are you going to tell insurance? The survivors, the parents of the casualties, what are you going to tell them?
Daniel, never mind the insurance. Just think about the impact. You know, if we had a crash and our fire services were not prepared to deal with that, could you imagine the impact that would have on Grenada's tourism industry?
Economy and everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Everything. Simple as
but
that.
Even you, as a pilot,
yeah,
the aircrafts are so designed, it's difficult then. Once you have an engine feathered,
yeah,
you shut down, or whether you shut it down, you shut down yourself, or there was an explosion.
Yeah.
It's difficult really to control her on that one engine.
Very difficult.
Remember, let's say it's the number one engine, which is the left engine. Yeah. She's going to be pulling to that side, and you're going to be fighting there with the controls to try and stabilize her.
Yeah.
Even our puppies at the airport, I'm not too sure if they're functioning. The
puppies are the prison approach.
Yeah, these 6 big red lights on either side of the runway. Yeah. I'm not too sure if they're functioning. Yeah. That is the one to drift her back in if she off a little.
Yeah, and let you know if you're coming down on the proper glide path.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if they're functioning. Because this aircraft would coming in on one engine, she would tend to land slightly across the runway. Then she'd
That's right. Straighten out at the very last minute.
Center line.
Yeah. Another issue I heard brought up when we had this fire was the one pertaining to fire hydrants. There were people who saying there weren't enough fire hydrants or they were badly positioned and so on and so forth. Let me hear your take on our fire hydrant network.
The fire department and NAWASA should work hand in hand. But it's not the fire department's responsibility to install hydrants. That's primarily they order and they install. NAWASA. And what I see around quite a bit are pillar hydrants, those red things that stand above the ground. But you also have hydrants which are underground.
Okay.
There are 2 types. Sluice type, that's just a straight flow in with a lock off, or the ball type where your standpipe has to push the ball down for the flow of water to come. So there should be the 3 types. Sluice, ball, or pillars. But what I noticed with the pillars, they are screw type, and they are not compatible with the instantaneous, which is British, the Scandinavian hermaphrodite, or the German hermaphrodite, because we have had all these vehicles there before. The first set of crash tenders came from Scandinavia. And during the revolution, we had the German IFA fire trucks. So even the German hermaphrodite was not compatible with the Scandinavian. So in my days then, we created adapters so you can, hook on to one to the other and so on and so on.
Fire engines we have now come from where?
The tanker seems to be instantaneous, but I'm not too sure where the other types, but I think they're instantaneous.
Okay.
So probably they may have adapted it from day one.
So in terms of my initial question about the network of hydrants, are we well served?
No, we have 2 types of supplies in the city. We have FH, that was a plaque that was written on the wall, F10H or F1H10, written in red, that was a fire hydrant. That should have been untreated water. Whereas if you notice the other ones, same, about 15, 18 inches square, DS. Unfortunately, it's not my initial, the DS.
Okay.
That means domestic supply.
All right.
So that should have been treated water. Putting up 1 million hydrants and you're not servicing them doesn't make any sense. And if I can recall, at the last week or during the last week of every month, the fire department went out and inspected all these hydrants, whether underground or on top.
Every month?
Every. Last week in every month. You would see the firefighter with the standpipe on his shoulder, the other one with the ski and bar, and he always had little hand spades, hydrant opener, and he would walk around with that. And that started at 6 a.m., so by 7:30 you would have done Morall, Lucas Street, Woolwich Road. The next morning you want to do Halifax Street, Melville Street, and so on, you know.
But that was back in your day?
Back in our days.
All right. Can you use seawater to...
Yes. Well, that's the fresh water you have, you know. No cost at all.
Yeah.
But if your pumps cannot lift the water, and there's a process called priming. Even after retired, we had a fire truck that couldn't prime. One of the firefighters called me at home, and I went down, and the then man in charge, I went to him, you know, reaction, you out the service, you know, that was the facial reaction I got. So I said, can you call firefighter? And I called him, who was a driver, so he would have been an FD, fire driver. He came down, and I asked him, I said, why don't you fix the fire truck? Oh, me? I ain't doing nothing, you're not there again. So I said, I asked the officer, can we go and fix the fire truck? He said yes. We went, and we had the fire truck back in operation within half an hour. Because when we got those trucks, we were trained, you know, minor faults to check it out, and that was done. You know, so probably I left everybody, you know. You know, I was a tough guy, I would tell you that, very tough. To be professional, you have to train. And firefighting is a professional job.
Yeah.
You know, the firefighter goes into a building, he doesn't know where the radiation is. And even in my report, I said that we should be quick. It's just a little pen, you know. Take it out your pocket and you test. But after the firefighters would have left the scene, what do you call it? Bureau of Standards went and tested the level of radiation.
Yeah.
Firefighters infected already.
Yeah. And by the way, the release that was put out really agitated Dr. Terrence Marshall. Okay. Okay. Now, let's get to the biggest issue that came out of this fire on Grenville Street. Why did it take almost an hour, allegedly, for Grenlec to disconnect the power from the building?
A number of factors could play. Now, again, as a young firefighter, we had to wait on electricity to come with a long stick to juke the pole, you know, shut it off for us. Because even as a young firefighter, on 2 occasions, once in Pedmota, once in Beaulieu, we were instructed to stand down. Because as I said, water and electricity are not friends.
Right.
So the then officer in charge, Inspector Morall from Barbados, instructed us to stand down until Grenlec arrived. But there's a Grenlec patrol 24 hours a day.
Today, in this day?
24 hours a day. Okay. I see them pass in my area all the time. So the problem here is, it could have been, you know, many factors playing. One, pre-burn period before notification. Was the protocol followed by the fire department in notifying Grenlec? Because the protocol was 1, fire call received. 2, Grenlec notified. 3, Nawasa notified. 4, well, in my days we had an ambulance. St. John Ambulance Brigade, we control that. So even before you got to me, you had to notify, because I can't do anything.
And that is established protocol.
Protocol that was there during my time, both as a young firefighter and in charge of the fire department.
Are you aware of any form of mechanism that may be available to negate having to wait until Grenlec gets somebody out there?
Once the notification goes to Grenlec, they have a beautiful command center Everything is computerized. And by the click of a button, they can shut down Belmont in 2 minutes.
So we don't have to wait until Grenelec believes wherever.
But what I'm told, I was not on the scene.
Okay.
I was told that the firefighters were seeing a street light on. And Grenelec was on the scene. And you were telling me power is off, but we're seeing a street light. But I'm told that there are some street lights in town which are solar powered. I don't know how true it is. I don't know how true it is. Like those on the Carnage, you know, they're solar
For sure,
powered.
yes. I know about that one.
So I don't know, you know. So I will not blame electricity, nor even blame the fire department.
Yeah.
Because remember, water and electricity are not friends.
Yeah.
But there's something in electricity you call phasing. For example, in my village, I will have no current, and you look up the village, but we're on the same line. I think it's called phasing. They're on a different phase to us.
Okay.
So I have no power. Fontenoy has power, but we're on the same line, same feeder. You know, they will know their terminology in that. So as I said, you know, Grenlec's command center, and they're going to be permanent. They've moved from Queen's Park, where you had to call a dispatcher, you had to try and get a truck with somebody to send. Now everything is done by the click of a mouse. And the island could be shut down within a couple minutes. But again, you know, on computer, the minute you click something, a box pops up. Do you really want to do that?
Yep.
Yes or no?
Yep.
So you have to think, because while I was there, the guy showed me. He clicked on to want to shut it down, the box popped up. Well, he said no. Okay, you don't want to shut down the place.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have to do that, it takes a few seconds. So they have a good system.
Okay.
So, but as I said, the initial start of the fire, somebody observed it, that pre-burn, notification, that's another pre-burn, so that's second pre-burn, and the response of the fire department, that's 3 pre-burn periods you have. Between it starting, someone seeing it, somebody called in the fire brigade, and then the fire brigade responded. So you have 3 pre-burn periods.
And that is before getting to Grenelec.
Well, Grenelec, as I said, in protocol, supposed to be the first person to be notified after the initial call to the fire department.
All right,
I don't know if somebody may have slipped, forgotten, I don't know, I can't see.
Danny, listen, I'm sitting here listening to you for the last half hour, and we're just about to wrap it up now. But, you know, I get it that even though you were the fire chief way back when, you still have a lot of knowledge. And even though the world has changed a lot over those years, I'm sure that some of the practices that you guys were involved in back in your day could still be beneficial. We don't have to throw out the bathwater, okay? I want you to take a minute and look into this camera here and talk to the people in authority as to your vision as how our firefighting capabilities could be enhanced. Because let me tell you, firefighting, justifiably or unjustifiably, firefighting has just come under a hell of a lot of fire. Okay? Talk to them guys.
What I would like to see is that the domestic fire department, including Grenville, wherever you have it, be properly equipped and the men trained. That's what I would like to see. Once that is done, that you have the men properly trained. Now, I offered 3 previous commissioners of police my services without cost. One has since passed on. I wouldn't be calling names. And even there was another gentleman during a particular period of a party. I went to them and offered, because see, nobody was taking me on. Today, none, not one, has contacted me to offer my services. Well, you know, I'm not young again, but I'm still prepared in whatever little way I can, even in the form of lectures, you know what I mean, to see what we can do. I will not be able to climb a ladder as a young man again. But I would like to see the domestic fire department. If we are going to buy equipment for the fire department, let us buy what we need, not what some donor will offer us. Yeah, give us what we need. Vehicles that we can quickly get parts. I'm not too sure if the fire department is used as a water brigade again, as a backup to Nawasa. That was the practice. Where, you know, because you're a permanent secretary, you call the fire department. I need some water in the tank. No, that's not the fire department's responsibility. Yeah. It was hard really putting down a sledge on that during my time. Very hard. In fact, one minister and I got away. Yes, he's still around, Minister of Government. And I told him in no uncertain terms, I do not take instructions from politicians. I take instructions from the Chief Fire Officer, who is the Commissioner of Police. So the then Chief Fire Commissioner called me, why did you tell the Minister that? That's how it is, sir. I do not take instructions from politicians, and that's why I had greatest respect for Sir Eric Geary, Mr. Blaise, Sir Nicholas Brathwaite, George Brizan. Oh yes, greatest respect for them. They never tried to bully you.
They knew where to draw the line.
Exactly. Yeah. Sir Nicholas, you know, he used to call me in his office every so often. He used to call me Searles boy. I don't know anything about firefighting, you know. I'm the Prime Minister.
That's a name. That's, yeah.
You know, and we would discuss things, but obviously over a cup of coffee.
You know, Daniel, unfortunately, we live in an environment now where so many things have become politicized. It's usually the politicians at the gardens who are running a lot of technical things about which they know diddly squat. In other words, nothing. You know, and that is hurting the country. Yeah. There's so many people out there like yourselves. You've been through it. You've been there, done that. So many people who have so much to offer, even in their retirement, they're just being marginalized, sidelined. It's hurting the country, folks, big time. Let me tell you, thanks again. Thanks again. And you keep an eye on the airport to make sure that they don't take that damn crash tender away, eh?
I will.
You know,
I will be mashing somebody's big doors.
You know, as a former pilot, I can't help but wonder how I would feel having to make an emergency landing and know that there ain't any fire tenders at the airport. That would cause me to wet my diapers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, bro.
You're most welcome.
Take care. Okie dokie. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. There goes Mr. Daniel Searles. Hadn't seen this guy for a long time. Folks, some comments came in from you guys, which I want to take a minute and share some of them here with you. Let me do a little scrolling back here. Okay, here we go. There's somebody calling in right now, but that person is going to have to wait for a few minutes. Please, just bear with me. Robert Stonebank says, Mr. Daniel Searles, you must remember that the personnel at the airport are police officers, and their duty is to protect life and property. Okay. You can't wait? Then we're just going to have to turn you off. Okay. Anthea says, I hope the current fire chief is listening to this gentleman. This is valued information. By the way, happy birthday, Nesta. See you're with us this morning. Always nice to see you. Anthea also says here, not at all. Knowledge is power. Andrea St. B says, now, this gentleman, Mr. Searles, is the kind of retiree that the administration needs to rehire. Not those other folks. They need people like him. Margaret Francis says, sticking your head in the sand is not going to save you. Constructive criticism is always good and necessary, to which Anthea agrees. Mr. Bob Marishow is monitoring us this morning, and he says, I'm pretty sure that Grenlick poles have a tag. They may want to inform the public in the event of a fire. Please call in the pole number first and the address of the fire second. That would assist with a quick turn-off. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bob. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Marishow works with Con Ed in the United States, New York, large hydro company. Okay, folks, where are we? Let's take a break.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Conveniently located in the Grenada'S Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair GRENADA'S will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey, neighbor.
Here's the bill I asked you to pay for me.
How did you get your electricity bill to be so low?
For one, we size our transformers just for what we need. And we unplug transformers, chargers, and other devices when they're not in use. We also replaced our light bulbs with LEDs.
They burn less energy, right?
Much less. I even replaced the seal on my refrigerator door to keep the cold air in.
And Grenlick is always advising us not to open the fridge too often.
That's right. And my family washes and irons in bulk.
With fuel prices changing all the time, how do you know if it is working?
We pay attention to the usage history table. Over time, our average usage has decreased.
So while Grenada can't control fuel prices, I can conserve energy and save money.
Grenlick, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, on the first program of our 16th year, yes sirree. Once again, thank you, Grenada, for making this possible. And thank you to our sponsors who have also made it possible. And thank you, my dear God. Thank you. Okay, I did promise you that I would reread the statement from the Ministry of Health, which came out yesterday, because I think it's important that you know this, and then we're going to show you some videos on the coronavirus. Statement from the Ministry of Health: as a result of the continued spread of the 2019 novel coronavirus, and new and updated threat assessment by Ministry of Health, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, the Pan American Health Organization, and the World Health Organization, the government of Grenada will not allow any non-nationals with a travel history within the last 14 days from mainland China, whether in transit or originating, to enter any local port as of midnight last night, 2nd of September, 2nd of February, hang on, George. Any national returning to Grenada with similar travel history will be quarantined for 14 days. While the government of Grenada recognizes and commends the tremendous efforts being made by the government of the People's Republic of China and the World Health Organization, we believe that in light of the accelerated rate of confirmed cases, the decision of some of our fellow CARICOM nations, and the need to alleviate the uneasiness of our citizens in Grenada, we must make this decision to prevent the global threat from reaching our borders. Any responsible government, as a responsible government, we are guided by both the international suggested protocols and separately by the wishes and concerns of our citizenry. It is in an effort to find the balance between these two guiding principles that we have made this decision. The travel ban on non-nationals with recent travel history to mainland China and the mandatory quarantine for Grenadians returning home after visiting or transiting through mainland China will remain in effect until further notice. All travelers are urged to be guided accordingly. All right? That's a statement issued yesterday afternoon by the Ministry of Health. Now, China, here's the first of our 3 videos we're going to show you this morning. China is turning to the European Union for assistance as it struggles to contain the outbreak of coronavirus. The country's Prime Minister has asked the European Union to help find urgently needed medical supplies. Australia has joined the United States in banning the entry of foreign nationals who have recently been to China due to the coronavirus outbreak. It has been reported that 259 people have now died from the virus. On Saturday, China announced 46 new deaths. Watch this video, please.
China's premier has asked the European Union for help in sourcing urgent medical supplies to deal with the worsening coronavirus outbreak. 259 people have now died. That was after China announced a further 46 deaths. Earlier, Australia joined the US in banning visitors who've traveled to China. And American citizens who've been in China for the past 2 weeks will now also be screened and quarantined for 2 weeks. We've also heard from the World Health Organization's representative in China, who's defended the decision to declare the outbreak a public health emergency. He's also warned there'll be no respite from the spread of the virus in the near future.
This increase is likely to continue because there are almost as many specimens waiting to be studied as there are already reported. So the numbers will continue to grow.
Here's Scott Heidler in Beijing with the latest. Not great then that China is now having to ask the EU for help.
No, it's not a great sign at all, is it? Now, we know that, over the last week, 10 days, that there has been concern about just how much medical supplies are going to be needed for this. And obviously that has been growing because we're seeing a growing number of those infected. We are seeing growing numbers of those dead. So we knew that there was going to be a greater need, and it doesn't seem like it's being met here in China. So obviously the Prime Minister, Li Keqiang, made a statement saying that he's hoping to work with the EU to procure more medical equipment. It didn't go into detail as to what exactly they're looking for. They're hastily building 2 hospitals down in Wuhan and then starting construction on one outside here in Beijing. There was a temporary hospital built during the SARS epidemic, but those 2 in Wuhan, you got almost 2,500 new beds in 2 hospitals that are going to need to be equipped. So I can imagine just those 2 hospitals and the need for equipment, medical equipment, would be great. But then you have all the other existing hospitals and the other existing needs they have. We knew, mid last week that there was a call out for more protective clothing for the medical professionals who are treating those who had been infected. So I would imagine that's one of the things they're looking for. A lot of those materials are manufactured here in China, but I would imagine that it just can't be manufactured quickly enough. You also have situations where maybe some plants are in areas, some factories are in areas that are really shut down because of the virus itself. So you've got this difficult situation, but a call out from Prime Minister Li Keqiang looking to get more medical supplies, particularly from the EU, here into China.
And what about the travel restrictions, Scott, the reaction to that? Because, again, it's just another negative sign for China having to deal with the restrictions being put on by other countries.
Absolutely. No, it wasn't received well. The United States' move to restrict non-citizens who've been in China from getting into the United States. That doesn't include green card holders and relatives of citizens, close relatives of citizens. That was not received well here at all. Actually, they said it was not a show of good faith, is how they worded it here, the central government in Beijing. But one thing that's interesting, the travel has been restricted in the Hubei province. You've got even more restrictions almost every day within China. The Chinese government is actually chartering planes to get people who are tourists stuck, who are Chinese citizens who are stuck in Hubei province, to get them out. Obviously, they'll be screened first, to get them out of the province and into their home provinces here in China. So that's obviously something to try to alleviate maybe some of the stress that province is already facing. And one other thing I'd like to note, we were talking about this last hour, Kamal. Apple has announced that it's closing its offices and stores at least for a week all across China, in mainland China. For at least a week, they're going to reevaluate. This is following Starbucks has done something similar. McDonald's has done something similar here. But one thing to look at in the Hubei province, you talk about the economic impact of this virus here in China, and that has knock-on effect around the world. There are a lot of factories, auto factories in particular, down in Hubei province. Those are shut. Those will be shut indefinitely until they can get a handle on how this virus is spread and what they can do to contain it. So, we're going to have this supply chain issue moving forward. Like right now, it's kind of a bit of a grace period because most of those factories would have been shut for the Lunar New Year holiday, coming back online probably on Monday. That's not going to happen. What's that knock-on effect going to be? We'll have to see.
Thank you, Scott Heidler in Beijing. Hong Kong's chief executive, meanwhile, has rejected calls by a medical union to close the border with mainland China to try to halt the spread of coronavirus. 13 cases now confirmed in Hong Kong. Wayne Hay is there for us.
The authorities in mainland China are struggling to get on top of this, given that those statistics that are announced daily from the National Health Commission are certainly worse than the previous day. 46 deaths confirmed on Friday in those latest numbers that were announced on Saturday morning by the National Health Commission. Most of the infections and the fatalities are being recorded in Hubei province still. That is where it is thought that this outbreak began, and certainly there the medical staff are struggling to deal with the sheer number of cases. Thousands of extra doctors and nurses have been sent to the area from other parts of China, but there is still a shortage of medical equipment there. In particular, the protective suits that those medical personnel need to wear when dealing with the patients, and also test kits. And that is partly why many experts outside China are saying that the actual number of infections will be a lot higher than what the Chinese government is recording. Also, there is a shortage of hospital beds, and that's why everyone is eagerly awaiting the completion of 2 makeshift hospitals that are being built in that provincial capital, Wuhan City. We expect those hospitals to be completed within the next week or so, and that will mean an extra 2,500 hospital beds. But this virus has now spread to every single province and territory in China, including Tianjin in the northeast, a long way from Hubei province, but a city that neighbors the capital, Beijing. There are 32 confirmed cases in Tianjin, and the local authorities there, the local government, have announced that they are ordering all schools and non-essential business to remain closed.
And from Hong Kong to Thailand, Alexia O'Brien is in Bangkok, where Thai officials have been giving an update on the virus there.
They have confirmed that the number of confirmed cases remains unchanged at 19, but the number of suspected cases here in Thailand has jumped to 344 from 280 on Friday. They're not saying that's because the virus is spreading much faster here. It's actually because they've widened the net. They're now looking at people who have arrived from cities outside of Wuhan, the epicenter of that outbreak, but also Thais who may have come into contact with Chinese tourists, for example, because China is the biggest source of foreign tourists for Thailand. There have been about 2 million people come through just in December and January since the outbreak began. So if you have a look at the map behind me, though, there has been a map made up to show the outbreak as it stands at the moment. That big red circle is Wuhan and China's Hubei province, as I said, the center of that outbreak. And down a little bit here, you can see the red flashing dot. That is Bangkok, and that's because the Thailand has the second highest of cases, 19 outside of China, and also authorities here say Thailand remains the most at-risk country outside of China because of the number of people travelling back and forth. But that number, 19, is dwarfed by the number, if you move with me here, of 11,300. That's the number of global cases. Most of them, though, are in China.
All right, that piece came from Al Jazeera. Thank you very much, Al Jazeera, for the use of that. Do appreciate it. Now, the next piece you're about to see, we also want to thank the Jamaica Gleaner. This piece is something they put out yesterday, I think it was, or a couple of days ago. And they put that out through Radio, let's see here, Radio Jamaica, I think it is. It's really heart-wrenching. You're going to hear a Jamaican student who is trapped, if you will, in China, pleading to come home. Check this out.
The reason why I'm here is because I'm pursuing a bachelor degree in protected agriculture science and engineering at the Anhui Agricultural University. I am not even worried about my health. I am worried about my life. This is how scary this thing is. This is how deadly this coronavirus is. I no longer care about how much my health is, but merely my life.
Thought I'd just reach out to let you know that you're not only in our thoughts and prayers, but we are trying really hard to find the ways to best help and support you.
American citizens want to leave China as fast as possible. We want to leave. Nobody wants to stay. We all want to leave because this is a death and life situation. It has gotten so bad that you don't have to be in contact with me for me to get the virus. It is so easy to catch the virus right now. It has gone to second mutations to show you how much it has been widespread. We want to go home, Jamaica. We don't want to stay in China. We don't want to stay in China.
I've reached out to international partners to see what assistance could be provided, if any. Second, we, the government of Jamaica, we're assessing what's in our capacity to do for you. And third, we're also asking for your understanding that the arrangements for evacuations or transport, those have been special arrangements negotiated by countries with large, strong health systems and with their own airlift or national airlines. And they have negotiated their arrangements understanding that the official WHO guidance and the Chinese government guidance has been to reduce the risk of spread by reducing travel.
We're begging the Jamaican government, come together by whatever means, send for your Jamaican people, send for your nationals, because It is not pretty, my Jamaican people. It is not pretty. It's a very scary situation. We are willing to go in isolation. We are willing to go through the proper quarantine processes, but nowhere is safer than Jamaica. We want to come home.
We have not forgotten. We're not doing anything. We're doing our best on this side, but we're asking that you continue to support each other. You continue to follow official information, that you try to stay calm. I know it's tough, but reach out to each other. A conversation, a sharing of experience, a kind word, a little bit of advice shared among yourself who understand best what's happening on the ground. I'm sure you'll help each other.
Truth be told, reassurance and guidance cannot help us at this time because this is a death and life situation. The government is not proactive as well. They have to be proactive. The truth be told, we are not Chinese. We are Jamaican citizens, and it is the government. It is the government that is supposed to look out for their citizens. It is the government that is supposed to take out their people out of such crisis.
Alrighty, folks. There's just one more piece that I want to share with you, and I think it's very cute as people go to all lengths. People are becoming very creative to create an awareness of this virus and the dangers. This is actually a song which many of you may recall from many years back. Popular with a lot of people, including yours truly. It is titled The Sounds of Silence, done by a duo, Simon and Garfunkel. Well, they've done this little parody, if you will, to bring an awareness to the public about the coronavirus. Check this out now.
Hello, virus from Wuhan. Another problem's here again. Because you see the contagion creeping, and the virus is indeed spreading. And the memory of SARS planted in my brain still remains. We stand and fight the virus. We hear of theories how it grew. From snakes and bats became a flu, passing the sickness from man to man. Now it's growing, getting out of hand. It's a virus that has traveled near and far. Corona. We have to fight the virus. And in the latest news I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People falling sick with much coughing. People falling ill with much sneezing. People worried for their health and their one so dear, pneumonia. We keep the fight, the virus. Keep your hands clean, always know. Hygiene will stop that virus grow. When you sneeze, cover with a tissue. Even coughing, just let me teach you. Wear a mask if you're sick so that others won't get it too. We count on you to help to fight the virus. Together we must overcome. To beat this virus, fight as one. For a life of health and harmony. It's in our hands, it's up to you and me. For the health of our land, of our friends and family, humanity. We will win this fight. The virus.
Isn't that nicely done? Sounds of silence. Pilgrims, we're just at about the end of today's edition of Sundays with George Grant, first edition for the first, or the 16th, the start of the 16th year of this program. Let's take a little break, and then we shall return with a parting word from the Holy Scriptures.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate, Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
One more for the road. Look, I find you had a little too much to drink, you know. Let me drive. Nah, man, I good.
Alcohol causes drowsiness, slow response time, distorted vision, impaired decision-making, blackouts, decreased coordination. Drinking water does not make you less drunk. Never drink and drive. It takes only a second.
I'm really sorry.
Sorry? Sorry can't bring back my sister. You've been drinking. I can smell it. Why?
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy. We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow. With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice Island.
Redhead, energizing.
All right, my dear friends, just before I pull the curtain down, I want to grab just two quick comments here on social media, if you'll bear with me for just a minute. Clive Devers he's posted a quotation here, quote, "We are all visitors to this time, this place. We're just passing through. Our purpose here is to observe, to learn, to grow, to love. And then we return home." And that's a quote. It's an Australian Aboriginal proverb. So says Clive. He says here, a home does not refer to Grenada, China, USA, or Canada. God has a place in our home in heaven if we believe and live a purpose-driven life. Finally, Joycey Smith is asking a question. Is Grenada the only place that doesn't understand the danger of this virus? God help the people of Grenada. Okay, my dear friends, parting word from the Holy Scriptures on this, the second day of February. Today's reading comes to you from the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter 6, verses 19, 20, and 21. It says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Matthew chapter 6, 18 to 21. Pilgrims, we got a short week ahead of us. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday's a holiday. Happy Independence. And also want you to join us tomorrow morning every weekday, because this week, on each of our programs this coming week, you'll be hearing us commemorate Black History Month, thanks to our good friend Margaret out there, who has put together a series of vignettes. Yes, Black History Month is commemorated usually in places like the United States and Canada and so on and so forth, and maybe a few other countries around the world. However, Margaret focuses on Black Caribbean nationals, our people. And I urge you, make it your point of duty to join us weekday mornings at 9. God bless you, my dear friends. God bless you.